All right. So good morning, programmers. Once again, welcome to our session today. So this time we're going to be discussing about uh, an advanced. No, we are going to discuss week 2 to 3, but in the span of that now duration, we're going to be discussing 2 and 3 all uh, throughout the day. Uh, yeah. So we're gonna be discussing number one. First, I would just like to give focus on the how do we process or how a how a C++ program is being processed by a certain IDE or integrated development environment, and also I'm going to discuss with you the conversion from algorithm which I will be teaching you how to create the pseudocode algorithm and convert it into a programming. Okay, so in our week one discussion, where it's all about concepts, what's computer, and all these things, all those stuff. We have like what are the parts of computers, which makes an input process, an output, or storage, and I'm pretty much sure you're learning on those one, no? Or these components of a computer. Now this time, let's focus on the programming side. Okay, so by the way, this is how a C++ program is being processed. I will be I'm not going to walk through on each of the step, but I'm going to because we cannot we are not we cannot do that, no? So because it's happening actually behind it's actually happening behind. So this time I'm just going to give you an idea because this is an idea on how it is uh, processed by our IDE because it's important for us to some is actually another so late. Okay, let's back where we left off because it's very important for us to a programmer to know how a because these ones are actually underrated. Now, every programmer must know this one on how our programs or our certain codes now is actually being processed by a programming language. So just like other Java, it has phases, it has processes, and in C++ we have here 6 steps. So to start with, we have in a C++ program we need, or even in any other programming language like PHP, Java, Python, we need a program editor. So this program editor is actually our environment for us to write codes. Basically, this is the working place where we get to write programs. So we get to write our source code. So it could be a C++, it could be a Notepad, it could be a Notepad++, or it could be an IDE. But before, when there was no IDE, programmers tend to use C++ as their working place in creating programs, and they have to go through each of these steps each of these steps. So go through in a sense that they are really the one who do it manually. Okay, so to start with, we have step one. In Java, we need in C++ rather, we need an editor. So let's say for an instance, we use Notepad as our editor. So we get to write codes in there, and after that, it will now next proceed to the preprocessor. So by the way, this thing we call preprocessor directives are actually basically your as is just a statement that you include something that you include this specific class or library in your program. Or let's say for an instance, sharp include iostream.h, sharp include connu.h, and all those things now get check, get stage, those preprocessor directives, which we get to familiarize them along the way with this course. Okay, so basically, these preprocessor directives are used for including or importing a certain class in our program. Okay, so now let's talk about compiler. So when we talk about compiler translate, as we all know, this compiler thing is actually going to convert or translate high-level language into machine language. What do you mean by high-level language? Remember that in programming there are type, there are actually a lot of types. We have this low-level language, we also have this mid-level, and we also have high-level language. When we talk about low-level language, is closer to machine language. So that machine language is actually the language of a computer, which are actually zeros and ones. Okay, and that's the only thing that our computer understands. Now, in so that we're able to interact and so that we're able to communicate our computers, making the computers understand our language, we'll need a compiler. Okay, and this compiler is going to convert the machine or the high level language into machine language. For instance, let's say you guys look for normally when we press a key here, any key in our keyboard, what's can you guys look for certain ASCII code of a small or capital A? What's the of letter A? ASCII code 91, 91, right? 91, is it right? Am I right? Then how about small letter A or lowercase a? 60, 63, no? Example lang, assuming these are the, I don't know what's the exact ASCII code, but you have to, I mean, familiarize all this. But I guess in your computer fundamentals, you will have to not memorize but familiarize this because in a way, it's just in chronological order. So 91 and 2, if 91, if A is 91, then B is 92, like that. So all cases in our code has equivalent ASCII code, no? American Standard Code for Information Interchange, no? ASCII. Talking about this. Okay, so let's say for instance, we have this code here in C++, it's saying C out, hello. So this, okay, this one right here is a code, no? It's high level language because we humans understand and being able to read it. Not when we talk about assembly language, we only read a little bit of the codes, no? I mean, we can barely read the codes in there. So in the assembly, which is actually that belongs to low level language, and then C is said to be in the mid level, but uh, as far as I know, it actually high level language. The same thing with C++, Java, and all other programming languages of today. Nowadays, they are actually in high level language. So high level language means the we humans are able to recognize symbols, recognize the words we use in particular in terms of writing codes. So example we have here C out, hello world, and this actually would display uh, uh, a text of string or as a text or a string hello world. So this time, this is hello. Yes. Am I audible, everyone? Okay, okay. So going back to I uh, where I let's go back further. So yeah, this high level language now would be further machine language. So that our will be able to understand this should be converted in machine language, which are zeros or combination of zeros and ones, probably like that. And this would base on okay, let's say how computers convert it. Okay, so let's have a very simple idea on conversion ASCII code. So basically, this code here, okay, this code, every code we write in every programming is not understood by our computers that it's C out, that it's actually C, that it's actually O, that it's actually U or T. It's what is understood by our computers are the representation of ASCII code for that, no? ASCII code of 20. Okay, example we have here. To represent ASCII code 91, we use the binary bits. Okay, the bits, the bytes. So we have 1, 2, 4, 8, 6, 32, and 64, and 128, 256, so on and so forth. But since 91 is like it's 91. It's just going to offer this 8 bits. So we have here, first is 91. So 64, okay, is actually 1. So how about 64 plus 32? This is one way to, one of the ways to convert asking binary. 64 plus 32 is actually 96, right? Tama ba? Okay, so meaning to say it cannot be because we only have 91 as a value, so probably this is 0. So next is 16. So 0 plus 16 is actually how much? 80? Tama? Yeah, 80. So okay, plus 8 is 88. Okay, plus 4, that's 90, 92. So it cannot be because we only have how many left? Like 80, 92, one na lang, no? So 80, this one is, so this is 0. This is, pila na ito? 80. Pila na? 64 plus 16 is 80. Okay. How about this one? Pila na ni? And then ang okay, 1 and 1 to complete. Okay, 4 para hindi siya 91. Okay, so that's how compilers does the process of converting each codes that we write in our program. Now, every key, every single key in there is going to be converted into machine language so that our computers will be able to understand the way we write our programs. So imagine that is all that always, no, that is going to happen behind us, before us. So basically, that's the work of compiler. It converts high-level language into machine language. Not only that, compiler also is going to check if there are some errors. So when we talk about violation of errors, we have this what we call syntax in programming. So what means syntax? Syntax is actually rule in programming. Rule is similarly it's like grammar. Okay, diba we have grammar in English. We have grammar. We have subject verb agreement specifically. So if you have the subject, if you have a singular noun, you must have use singular verb. If you have plural noun, you must use, or subject rather, you must use plural verb. Okay. So example, we have the students. The students are. No? So it's you will come up, or it will cause you a grammatical error if say the students is. Okay. So the students should be like the students are. So that's grammar in English. Similarly, in programming, in syntax are formal way of writing a program. These are rules in programming. In every programming, there is syntax. Okay, so basically, our compiler checks certain codes, what human is going to write in our editor, check that, and then after that, when there is error, even single error na siya, it goes back to editor. So because you cannot proceed with like writing a program, or you cannot proceed with the runtime or running your program once it's not completed. So we must follow the syntax. Okay, so yan, syntax are like grammar, or instead of small letter C, you write capital letters or uppercase C. So it's actually it's actually small, all in lowercase. C out should be written in a small lowercase. So if you happen to write C out as C as capital or uppercase C, then therefore it will cause syntax error. So it's syntax error, you'll need to take that into an editor. Okay, and then the way programmers do this before, they have to do it manually. Like unlike or compared to now, and I have this with ID. Okay, ID is integrated development environment. Okay, integrated development environment. So these are programs that actually performs these steps with just single click of a button. Okay, and you don't have to do it like manual, like the way programmers did it before. So like in our case, we tried during my college, I tried to have run a Java program by filing it, by converting it in object, by converting it into a class. So we have we have to invoke a certain script like Java, the name of our Java into compiled Java compiled object, and then we have to do it in command line interface. And imagine how difficult it was. So because of this IDE, with just a click of a button, it can be things will get easier for us. Okay? So now in every programming, there is this what we call library. When I talk about library, I would like to take the analogy of library. Library contains millions or hundreds of millions of books. Okay, and each library, of course, each book, okay, in the library is arranged into probably in chronological order, or it depends on the system they are following. If it's the decimal system, or I don't know what other arrangement of other rules no, para i-arrange nila ang groups. So in fact, if you're going to copy something from the book without referencing it, it's actually causing you a plagiarism, or probably you pwede kakasuhan, no? So it's the same thing in similar manner here in programming like C++. We have libraries. Okay, so this library contains the classes, the packages that we might be going to use in our program. And the role of linker after compiling it, once it's done, okay, the role of linker is actually combines an object or program object with other programs in a way that it can provide an SDK, or by the way, when we say SDK is software development. So most programming language has this one. For Android, we have ADK or SDK, so Android Development Kit. For Java, they have Java Development Kit. For C++, of course, it has SDK or Software Development Kit. So you install that language or that kit. Part of the installation is the library, your compiler, linker, and loader. So these programs are actually special, no, inside of your IDE. Okay, so these are small programs that has certain or specific roles which is the very goal of this one is to make a program running on a certain language. So what is this linker? Again, it combines the object program with other object that is used to provide an SDK to create executable code. So that's the work of linker. So whenever you declare this, let's say this out, this require preprocessor directives is say sharp include. Yeah, so don't you worry, you know all of this one. So say we have sharp include stream in other mga karaan ng mga compilers, it has that H. So this is what we call preprocessor directives, no? IOStream.h. So every time you use out, you'll have to include this IOStream. So IOStream, by the way, is input output stream. So it stands for input output stream. So when you want to use out, you have to include this library. So since you use out right here in your program, the link will now reference point it to your library. So mumutat siya, is it okay? Someone or the program is using this cout thing, no, or declaring this cout thing in your editor. So the linker now is going to reference from the library, which is this IOStream.h. Okay, so in every code, in every code snippet, in every token we say it token that we are going to write in a program, or we're going to define in a program has library. Okay, so kaya lang tayo na default library, and you don't have to like what they call this one. Some other codes are not required for you to, or it's not going to require for you to include a certain library, because automatically there is this invisibility of like calling a library already, parang automatic na siya. Okay, next is once everything is all set, okay, you violate any rule, there's no syntax error, and everything is linked and referenced properly. So it's now the object's now translated or created. So this time it will now proceed to the loader. So this loader now, based on the object that is converted here. Now, once the object is converted out of this linker program, the loader now will execute, no, or it actually loads the executable program into our main memory. So this time, ano na siya sa RAM. Okay, so that's why it's very important for you to understand the components of a computer, because as you can see right here, there are computers that are actually used in processing a C++ program. Okay, and after that, you will have here the execution. So execution means this is now running time. Okay, so basically when we talk about right here, it's this part is actually a runtime. So once all are parang everything is all set, there's no syntax error, someone is, I mean, another appear na window. And this one is for compile time. Okay, so this is the way we just write our codes. So question, before I'll proceed, do you follow? Hello? Hello guys? Okay, sige. 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 All right, let's proceed now with the this one. So in programming, we have to know that uh, there must be a problem that is going to be solved. Okay? So kailangan na yung problem. Kasi it's really impossible for us to, that's why the very reason why we learn programming is because we want to solve a certain problem. And it's impossible for you to provide solution without identifying a problem. That's why part of the India is in terms of we are going to, before we get into coding, we'll have to know that every solution has an influence or kang tinatawag na to, it is based on a problem. So as I've said, it's impossible for you to provide a solution or to give a solution without a problem. Hindi man pwede na mga talagang solution wala yung problema. Eh, even in what they call this one in real world scenario. Okay, so before you give solution, dapat you know what the problem is. Okay, so after you get to identify problems, you get to determine the problem. Okay, next step is the analysis. Okay, so I'm gonna so you have here the analysis. So in analysis, it involves the uh, probably gathering data, analyzing what the problem is, what are the things you will be needing, okay, and then it goes from problem analysis going to program design. This time you will be identifying what programming language you're going to use. Is it going to be standalone? Is it going to be web? Is it going to be mobile or both? So and then part of the algorithm design is this what we call pseudocode and flowcharting. Now in if you say pseudocode, if we say pseudocode, pseudocode, pseudocode actually informal language, formal English statement language. So when we say informal, this doesn't have to follow English grammar. It's just an English-like statements and it's informal. It could be a fragment, meaning it's not a complete thought. At least it is able to you're able to provide a straightforward instruction. Okay, that's how algorithm is. So we talk about algorithm, and every problem or yeah, every problem we identify or we are going to identify, there must be an algorithm. There must be an algorithm created. So in this algorithm, it could be either pseudocode, okay, it could be either pseudocode or flowchart. Now, for basic formulation, syempre, we'll need to I mean, ano experience wise, when I do like when I create a program, every time I create a program, I don't normally use flowcharting. I actually use informal coding or so coding because it's a lot better and it's what we call it's how do I say it's actually parang it's easier rather than flowcharting. But flowcharting is formal. Now, for it's actually a formal way of solving or providing a solution to a problem. Okay, and this is our focus for today. Now we are going to write pseudocode and we are going to write a flowchart. Okay, and almost all offices makita na yung mga flowcharting there, no? So what do you mean by algorithm? It's a finite set of steps which leads to a solution. So, diba, we're talking about solutions here and we're going to provide an algorithm. Once you are able to provide a certain steps leading to a solution, that's actually an algorithm. It could either be pseudocode or it could either be flowchart. Diba? In for instance, you are in a hospital or medical ka, diba, there are certain steps that you need to follow. So before all throughout the steps until get medical certificate. So that's actually why algorithm is important. Okay, or even flow charting. All right. So after this, or after able to come up with a pseudocode or a flow chart, so this is our transition. We create pseudocode and then convert it to flow chart, and then we convert it to code or program. We are going to create a program out of the flow chart. So basically, the flow chart and the pseudocode are universal language between the people on the IT side and the people who does a background in either related field. Of course, we cannot present our program telling them this is our code. It might get boring. So what we present to them the either flowchart or code, but that is not actually going to happen in a real world setup in software engineering or software development. The case there is actually you are going to present the framework, other things. No, in software, they cannot tinatawag na software, sa mga imong software development method or software development cycle na imong gamiton. And pseudocode and flowcharting are just part of software development of software or software engineering. And that's the time we'll proceed coding. So this is what I told you. Pseudocode or informal going to flowchart, going to pseudocode. And again, this is the only way. Flowchart and pseudocode. These are the only way to make us. We are able to bridge the rabbit with uh, people who doesn't have background in IT and the programmers. So syempre, di man kaya masasabot sa codes. Okay, and this is the part where I discussed earlier. Okay, itong preprocessor, compiler, inter, which is now this time in a program setup na. Okay, so basically that's how we are going in this. This is actually our workshop. This is what we do here in this course. Okay, so before we proceed, do you have any question? Yes. Send Gcash joke lang. Ano man? Ano? Reviews akong giveaway. Oh, yeah, yeah. Subscribe mo sa akong channel. Oh, subscribe mo sa akong channel. Ah, akong yes, yes, ako ko pardon? What if mag-error yung code? Mag-error. Dili siya mo run. Dili siya mo run. It will not proceed to the runtime. So, dili siya mag-run. Dili siya mudagan ang program. Dili ka mag no, no, no. I-edit lang nimo. I-edit lang. What causes the error? Kasi sa IDE, okay, kung sa integrated development environment na magamit ang IDE, na ay IDE na i-point ka niya sa error or sa mali. So, kato lang imong i-fix. You don't have to write again the entire program. I mean, you don't have to reset, no? Parang ibalik ka sa from scratch. So kato lang certain na error mo lang i-fix. Wag mo na og kanang after na diagnose ka nga nakay sakit sa kidney, ang kidney ang ayuhon dili ang utok, no? So kato na part ang ayuhon. Okay? Do you follow? Welcome. Code Conyo. Pero it's actually my personal, ano, my gamit na personal, but this time, because of the pandemic, and because of the, sana, ako siyang i-convert into my YouTube channel. So far, wala pa yung mga tutorial ayura, wala akong i-upload ban. Only those katong pili lang ng tutorial. But sige, anyway, I just keep on uploading mga tutorial there, no? So, sa mga inyan inyong makita dito. It is tool to body for all execution. Ha? Tapos once delete. It's no need, no need of, I mean, it's not intended for, yeah, plus points na lang nang mukita siya, mo income siya, but it's not intended for that. It's actually intended for, because of, there are, amang way upanon, because of the current situation that we are in, there are students actually tend or opted to be like, most of, ano ba, no, ano nila as of this time is, syempre, YouTube, resources from the internet. Because, like it's really possible for us to have immediate communication, no? Given the situation. Kasi like, although I'm just a click away, pero lahat itong when you had your discussions, tapos na yung mga maliit programs, okay siya kung na yung teacher that, no? Just to guide you all throughout the session. But again, that's why I actually did that. It's for them, no, to review the things that they might be needing, no, and also for upskilling, no, not only intended for beginner or katong ano, pwede pa refresher. So far katong nga dito karon is data structure and Java pa lang to, and then I will just keep on uploading some in a few. Just give it time, medyo busy lang. Okay. Okay, na question wala na. So let's not focus on. Let's keep going, and I'm going to change my. Where is Microsoft of so I'm going to change the view to Voila. Ayan. So, word na, no? Okay. Okay, sige. Ako alam siyang informal English like, pwede Tagalog, pwede Bisaya. Okay. So, by the way, I'm gonna read Untitled Algorithm is a finite step by step, no, finite set of step or a step by step, okay, which normally has start and end, lead to a solution, leading to a solution. So, mura na ayag, bagit. Okay, hindi makita at naayag pa, na-join sa one session. So, balik ko. So, leading to a solution. So, it's either pseudocode or depending on what we will provide. But first is, syempre, we are going to start with pseudocode. So, okay. Let's start with, or let's say, mag-identify the problem. So diba, like, imagine you're going to create a, a robot now, and then this robot is going to cook a certain dish, let's say, chicken adobo. So what are the algorithms involved? What are the steps involved in chicken adobo? Of course, if you are going to create a robot, basically this robot that is doesn't know anything else doesn't know anything sa tuang whatever knowledge we have. It does not know garlic, it does not know say tawag ng bombay, garlic, oil, no, okay, sorry. So now, can you give me a steps all throughout the making of chicken adobo? So, can you guys identify and let's help that robot being able to cook delicious adobo or chicken adobo. So, what's the first step? What would be the first step? prepare prepare ang ingredients. Now, okay, if you only to do that in your pseudocode, telling a robot to prepare ingredients, the robot does not know ingredients. Yeah. So the robot does not know what ingredients are this. So probably you start with be specific. Dapat the step should be specific. O sige, di na robot. Okay ka na mas masabtan sige kang bata, no, elementary. O, sige, elementary syempre ka idiom sa pag paghinog chicken adobo. Ang ihalang is kailangan this kid has to know a certain steps. Pero di ba na uban kids na dili po mga ingredients. So probably you have to specifically identify unsa ingredients. When we talk about ingredients, as in which spices or what's man na spices na no. So be specific. So yun. So say first prepare. What do you think is going to be the first step? Okay. So probably no, that's the missing part. Una, review ng manok. Okay. So sir, bakit di ka na manok? Di ba dapat magpalit sa ugnok? Okay. Pero di ba sir bago magpalit ugnok dapat nasa kwarta bago makapalit og manok? Ayaw daw. Anyway, let's assume that let's assume that the chicken is already there, no? Assume na lang ta na ang manok na. Okay. So na ang manok, okay, sunod buhat na ang mga ingredients, blah blah blah. Okay. Very good, pinakaon na chop. Ito, so, wala gani. Basit, don't be confused. Very good. Class, inani what I'm trying to elaborate here is don't confuse the kid. Kasi kung yung nag-chop pa ka and then gihitan yung karahay, basin while wala pa ka na human mag-chop yung karahay na, ni lupa na, wala na, sunog na. So first, dapat ang step nimo is sequence of instruction na i-follow niya na wala compromise na other things. Example, so pinakauna tamto na hugasan ang chicken. Because hindi mo na chicken. Very good. So, dapat basin yung chicken. Okay, clean the chicken. Okay, next, chop. Okay, tamto yung chop yung chicken. So, in terms of chop ang chicken, para yung bata chop yan eh. Anyway, actually, kabalo chop. I-chop into like unsa nga piece by cubes or by gagmay or unsa pa nga nag-go for probably. Depende. Basta ang isa manok ko mga 20 o no, 20 ka tao, 20 ka slices. Okay. Okay, nata. Video 1, okay, chop the chicken into pieces. Okay, and next sunod. Okay, marinate. Social media, i-marinate pa. Pwede na marinate. Okay, so muna akong iingon sa inyo. Naro ko ang marinate no? So muna akong iingon na iuban, i-marinate pa nila. Actually, that's what I'm trying to elaborate here. That in every problem or in every like other problem, actually is certain or actually possible ways or different solutions. Just to there are actually different solutions. There are actually different steps. Maguna siya og sa pagluto sa itlog, no? Or pagpanako kung sa ocean, there are many ways on how to catch fish from an ocean or sa dagat. Maghanap maagi para makadako ta og mga fish sa dagat. Pwede mamukot, pwede magtaga asa mamingwit, pwede naon, okay, pwede hiluan, dali. But it's bawal, no? But what I'm trying to elaborate here is that there are actually many ways on how to provide solution for a certain problem. So in a similar manner, naghanod og steps sa isa ka problem or sa leading to a solution sa isa ka problem. Like sa inyo case, aban marinate pero kung pwede diretso na, di ba? Diretso diha as long as ready na, ibutang na sa kala, tapos ibutang ta ng toyo, mantika and all that. Diretso na, pero ang uban ay uban i-manage wala daw ang lasa, tama ba ko? Avoid. Lahi pa maalis pagluto basta kay ang body rice maluto lami. Mao na no. So mo nang lahig lami ang mo nang lahi pagkalami ang chicken adobo. So going back, ang uban i-marinate, pero ang uban diretso na once na-chop na ang ahos, tapos onion, sa pa na minta, na ay pepper, okay, sa pa luya, na pwede ang uban walay luya, ang uban na, di ba? Pwede no. Okay. Pwede magbutang ang dahon, magic sarap, social, ano pa oyster sauce? Okay, ano pa oyster sauce? Sana all, mahal-mahal. Mahal-mahal pa ang oyster sauce. Sige na yung oyster sauce. Na may ay katong oyster sauce na katong branded, katong ano siya, lamig mo mahal dito siya. Pero na may siguro ato ko lang. Anyway, sige na yung oyster sauce. Tapos you very sure na ang pagkalo ato sa isang susan, dungan lang ba kailangan nato siya. So which is leading lead na yung dungan na yung lead. So that is leading to solution na maluto ang chicken adobo. That's what we call algorithm. That's what we call Sudoku. If that kid is going to follow that, no, if follow the steps that you created, okay? So there's a probability na what you would like that kid to achieve. Same dapat ang kami uga ang pagka ano sa imong the way you cook it is the same pod na cook sa bata. Ano ang probability. So that's how Sudoku is, no? So let's say we are going to teach a toddler. Hindi na tama og chicken adobo kay kuno ko padulong na alas 12 na biya. So let's now have a form kana ano lang. Okay, Sudoku. Okay, Sudoku in let's say adding two numbers. Let's say we are going to add two numbers. Ang pagka for kid or toddler because toddler does not know how to add numbers. So we have to move time testing using arithmetic operators. So Arabic is adding two numbers. How we add two numbers? Siyempre, because we are now in college, dapat na add two numbers. And we don't have to really follow a certain steps. You follow certain steps, but you don't have to like formally follow it na. Kasi it's part of our brain, no? Para sa buto. So let's teach that kid how to add numbers. So unsa imong step 1? Para makano siya, imagine kid na siya, bata, wadiya. So sa imong haton as a step, first step. Okay, kid instruction ba? Okay, ang step 1 ni siyang instruction, unsa man? Step 1, so pinaka-una nga step. Okay, two numbers lang. Basically, una sa is create or something like identify in two numbers. Kasi basically dapat klaro na concise na what you will need, what this kid needs to do. Una, take or identify two numbers. Either isulat ba niya or either iyang i-ano sa iyang mind. Okay? Iyang i-gamiton. Okay? Or something like take, add first, pwede mo siyang add. Take first number, pwede mo yung first number. Or add first number to second number. Using what? Using plus o kana aro ba to action? Kung ang bata mo follow ang aro ba? Add first number to second number using plus operator. Okay. And then safety. Okay, so unsa nang ano? Pwede na display answer or result. That's very pwede na i-set. So if ang bata sabi how to add number by following steps, so dako ang chance na he will be able to arrive the summation of two numbers. So this is the work of what we call Sudoku. Informal lang. It doesn't have to Sudoku na siya, no? Informal English like statements. It doesn't have to be written in a comprehensive na statement. Pwede na siya Bisaya, Tagalog, but the way that dapat it should be universal that any people or every person can understand it. Okay? So that's Sudoku. Now let's convert this into flowchart. By the way, upload charting is it uses geometry na analytical symbols. So naman we need to follow. Okay, so from Sudoku, convert that into flowchart. So for that, let me introduce you muna the different symbols. So let's start with the first symbol. So in every algorithm, dapat na start, okay, and it has to an end. So symbol is this one. It's not or an ellipse. So this denotes start or end. You don't forget to include this one in your flowchart. Dapat na start na siya. So you use this as start and then basta mag-end yung program dapat na. Okay, next symbol is this one. Okay, basta straight na siya, tapos medyo niyan na siya. So this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, hexagon, no? Isa siya nga symbol sa geometry. Never mind. This is used to initialize initialization. Okay, so you to initialize sum to 0. If you want to initialize number 1 or number 2, so use this symbol. Okay, next is algorithm. So parallel input. So use this for getting or accepting values from the user. Input ang user and then pwede po niyo siya gamiton for outputting or saying and say. Okay. Next is diamond symbol which is used for decision. So decision. So if your program has decision like if a number is less than to this number, So there's true and false. If true, what will happen? If false, what will happen? So there's consequence. So more chance that decision. Now another is which denotes or which is process. So when we talk about process, this includes okay, calculation like mag-add, mag-subtract, okay, mag-calculate gross pay, net pay, total deduction. So use this symbol. Okay, and then you have another symbol specifically for this way. Okay, so this is only for this way. Kasi na answers na use this tool only, and then probably use this for displaying certain text or certain say. Although why limit password could be operated use this way for display or this output. And then at the end, another symbols like many other symbols. This one on work. Para sa inyo, for example, kay flow chart, tapos na kay input output, and then nag-decision sa CDA sa rate. Within the page, naghimo ka og kasi wala ang average ang document, and then naka-space dire gamay, so pwede abutan dire kay and continue with you do ito na process, and then and sabi kasi continue and then pwede ka mo abutan pa so say this is and this is. So that's the use of on-page connector. After isa gamit for connecting pages and think about connector. Say for instance na kay another page or another sheet, another document, or like another paper, and then you don't want to put in this technology. So this time, invert them into page, and this so in one page. So this time, page na ang let's say 8 din mo siya sa page, and then do in and then naman so here D and then go and so that's how on page and off page connector. And there are other symbols like this one. So may add this one database, chat for the or for storage or depends now if floating, but the basics are this one. Okay, so let's now so convert this numbers. So to the next page. Okay, ano pa sa okay, wait for a while hindi ba not responding na noon. Anyway, while waiting, do you have any okay, wala. Ito page. Let's show code. Okay. So we have here atong ano is katong this one. Adding two numbers. So yan, step 1, 2, 3. So using flowchart symbols mo na itong i-achieve dito. Natong buhaton. So let's draw one more side. So first is adding two numbers, flowcharting. So this is flowcharting for adding to, so we have first step is a first step, but start, okay. So start, and then next after that is probably take two numbers, no? So take two numbers, so initialize na nato ang numbers, use the initialization value, pero pwede rin iwala, no? This one, is it family name? Pwede be first name, middle name, last name, or last name, middle name, last name, first name, middle name. So dapat klaro siya, this one is first name, dapat na first name, okay, na middle name, okay, or na last name, and this one na age. And yeah, so first time lang mo na normal sa data, no? So para here mo fill in siya sa dira, dili siya name, thing, and then yeah, si Juan, upong si Kupa, and then si Bintong, ko pa Bintong yang age 23. Ay, dili sex no dapat. Anyway, kasi ang ban ma-confuse man sa sex kasi ibutang nila 2 times a day, 3 times a week. So, dapat gender na lang din. Dapat gender lang hindi din no. So yeah, so just kidding. So dapat the male same sex kasi lagot but mga male. So ibutang 3 times a week. Oh, ayay na lang para sa gender, male or female. I'm just kidding ha. Okay. Now, here after that, so mas okay siya kung natin display. Yeah, two numbers. Because kung butang enter two numbers, so mas klaro ang user mo input siya or butang input ba or type, okay, mo type siya o numbers. So in this case, yung flowchart pwede po siya pero pwede delay. But if you would like na pahihadya siya, like pwede siya naman. Oh, sige ka, since may go utang na lang to eh. Baliktad, sorry. Okay na. So say here, start, divided naman erase. So click, ato siya erase sila, and then different instance of display. So entry ka enter two numbers after that mo siya. So at least save ang imo ang flowchart at the same time mo. Do kani siya mo sige. Do kani siya mo na program na at i-program na siya dito sa real program siya. Okay. So I'm going to yan. Okay. So unsa nakita ninyo? Yeah. Di ba klaro? Because hanap hanap yung hanap imong pananaw sa iya ha. Kani kana ah okay. So this one right here, this one is an example of a program no in C++. By the way, this is just an online compiler, okay? So maggamit jud ta og sarili og program that will allow us to write programs. Dili ta sa compiler kasi limited lang siya. Anyway, this is to give you a structure idea of what C++ program should look like. So mao ni siya. This is by the way, this is a comment section. So ang comment section, i-discuss natin na in the future. By the way, comment is used to only describe a particular code, no? Dili na siya i-read sa atong compiler. So, then this time, di ba ganina akong i-discuss about preprocessor directive and katong this is by the way an example of editor, and this is where we write our programs here. So, by the way, what is this sharp include IO stream? So this one is actually a library for standard input and output. Okay, so example, you don't include something like, let's say for instance, we remove this one or i-comment na nato ni siya. Yeah, totally remove nato siya. And then we're going to run this one. So it will give you an output of which is, I mean, it will give you an error. So the error says that STD, by the way, STD stands for standard. Standard ha? Standard cout is defined in header IOStream. Did you forget to include IOStream.h? So this time, kailangan niya ang include IOStream.h. So when you run your program this time, it will give you an out of hello world. Now, going back right here, also, kaning std that colon, this is actually used for standard. Kasi naamang ko yung mga, depende man sa compilers na gamito nato for programming in C++. Naiuba na katong if you're gonna be using standard libraries or what, no? Kasi sa other sa karaan is tdio.h, standard input at output, pero sa C++ itong mga newer ones, IOStream, no? Input output stream, no? Mao ni siya, input output stream of text. Now, if you don't include something like this one, okay, which is if i-run nato ning program, this will give you an error also because you don't include standard co-out. By the way, not co-out, that's cout. Okay, that's cout. Okay, going back. So, basin co-out yan. Pag-pronounce ana using namespace, pwede na po, no? Wala may upot sa toon sa pag-pronounce ana. Ugsas ako. Ayan, naka-zoom na siya, pero mas kita na jud. Pero dili ma-fit siya sa anyway, sige lang, no? Di man mo akong gamiton. I'll be using a program mismo. Pero sa yan, we have here, ano di maklaro dire? Klaro man sa ano? Anyway, sige, balik ko. Okay, wala man ko na hindi maklaro sa inyo hagod no. So anyway, so we have using namespace std instead of you will repeatedly type std every time magputang kag ano sa cout or kanang puot no. Instead of doing that, diba mag-error man to siya without std dot colon colon. So this would tell the compiler that you're gonna be using the standard input output. Okay, by the way, again, this is what we call preprocessor directives. Preprocessor directives. So this is an example of C++ library. Okay? So in C++ library, pag nakakita si compiler na, pag niya na, pag ano sa compiler na, you use cout, meaning i-locate, i-link na niya si include IOStream if cout, if IOStream is declared above. Kasi kung dili mo tong ganina error. So also this one ano is for standard lang no, for declaring standard namespacing kasi na again na ay lahi na library for C++. Depende sa compiler na imong igamit. Okay? So we have here cout hello world, i-run nato ni siya with ganina nag-error siya without std colon colon. This time i-run nato siya by declaring using namespace standard. Okay? So this time ma-run ang program. Okay? And also, I would just like to, anyway, don't worry kasi i-discuss pa na ko ni. Ato alang idea karon is convert na to ang algorithm into or pseudocode to flowchart to program or to source code. So again, right here, morning main program that says this is the start of the program, and then whatever you write in here are the blocks, code blocks of inside of this program. And this will indicate na this is the end of the program. And the return 0 is, as for now, actually this one is intended for returning no errors. It returns 0, it means because the function is actually int. Anyway, puhon, mahibalaan na ninyo. Okay, for now, let's follow our algorithm. So, di ba nag-start with declaration? So, this one, these are data types. I-discuss ko na ako na siya in the future. So, let's say we have num1, num2, okay, int, sum, so natay initialization na 0. By the way, pwede nimo ni siya itapa dire. You just use comma. Manitawag nato ni terminator. So this is what we call terminating statement. Okay? And then, butang tag cin num1. So meaning you accept input now. Cin num2. Okay? Also, pwede nimo ni siya itapad lang sa naalang kay ana, num1, num2. And then after that, sum is equal to num1 plus num2. So this time, you can now display on your screen something like, pwede sum diretso, but it would be formally, okay siya pag naakay, the sum is, tapos, sum. Alright. So, let's run our program now. Okay, so, yan, this is what I've told you na based sa ang i-edit kanina na algorithm, wala tayong butang na enter na two numbers. So, here, di nyo makita, no? Anyway, so this time, pag run sa program, it doesn't have any instruction o sa buhaton, but again, mura siya, meaning nangayo kag number. So, 2, 5, the sum is 7. So, we as a programmer knows na ang gipangayo niya numbers. But what about the user who will be using the program? So, mas okay siya kung naa siya ay label saying na mura kung kamo dapat may label. Bitaw. So, like enter two numbers. Ayan. So, at least, user now has the knowledge on what he or she will do with the program. So, enter two numbers. So, example, 3, 5. And then you display something, the sum is 8. Okay, let's run again. So enter two numbers 4 and 5. The sum is 9. Okay, question. Oy, so to. Wala. Okay. All right. So excited na mo mag-program? Maybe. All right. Okay. Sige, I'm gonna stop recording now. I'm going to upload this one in YouTube as well as atong convo. So, I will just end my discussion right here. So, ibalik sa nako sa ato ang yes, mag-dismiss na ko. But before that, so tomorrow will be our asynchronous session, no? For the knowledge of everyone, katong especially katong wala nagsulod. Unsa gan inang asynchronous session class? Okay, maghatag tag activity. This time, ang activity na to duha na. SCP activity at the same time